So when you read or hear about a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs in history, they tend to have, and I think they even called this with Steve Jobs, his reality distortion field. And part of that was him assuming some things were possible that other people thought were not possible. But I've also heard it recently, and it's usually in the terms of people wanting to move faster. And so I heard this recently, they called it Elon time, as an Elon Musk time, meaning that his deadlines that he wants are always shorter than what other people want. When I read a couple different books from Brad Stone, the author, about Amazon and a lot, obviously, about Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, he had the same kind of idea of wanting to push timelines faster. And so it's like, are these people just crazy, or is there something to this idea of moving faster in business? I believe that there is something, and I can tell you entrepreneurs that have been incredibly successful, not that level. I mean, obviously, they're two of the richest people in the world, but have still achieved a lot in life. That same exact idea. It's moving faster, I believe, is the way to go in business. Now, on Amazon's case, they would move fast when it came to rolling out new products, improving their platform, expanding their marketplace, all that sort of stuff. But they made sure to not sacrifice customer experience. Because you could be moving fast, which sounds good, but if every customer is pissed off, like that's not going to be good for you long term. And so you got to protect what matters most, but be willing to break everything else pretty much. I think is the idea of moving fast. Because when you're running a company, I believe time literally is money. Because if it takes you 3 times as long to do something, then you're probably still paying for staff and overhead and expenses, and you have opportunity costs and all that kind of stuff. So it literally does translate into money. The faster you can move, assuming there's no meaningfully worse quality output at the end of it, you're being more productive with the money and the resources of your business. So it matters a ton. And so one thing that I've realized is that we've produced about $350 million in sales in the businesses that I've owned. And what I've learned after doing all this, with a heavy emphasis on my part on marketing, that's kind of my core skill in business, I think, is on the marketing side, is that after all this experience, after producing hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, I still don't know what's going to sell well. You just got to put it out there. Do the best job you can, but then put it out there. So what that tells me is I can't spend, 5 months to get something out there and see if people actually want to buy it if I can get that out there in 1 month. That's not necessarily going to increase the odds of success for me by spending more time. What's going to increase the odds of success for me is getting something out there and then iterating or making different decisions once you have that real sort of customer data. And I believe that moving 10 times as fast will help you accomplish 100 times as much. And here's why. First off, is that it allows you to learn a lot faster. So you're saving money, which we already talked about as kind of the first thing, but the second thing is it allows you to learn a lot faster. You get more, quote unquote, at-bats or more attempts in the same period of time. So if you try 10 things in the time period it takes somebody else to try 2 things, you're learning 5 times as fast. That's gonna make you smarter, make you have better decisions going forward, and build a more successful business. And so the way you do this is step number 1, is to find the critical path. So this is where it's hard for me to kind of translate this because I think I naturally think like this. I want to move faster and get things done. And I'll be like, we can do this thing in like 2 weeks. Like, why are you trying to overcomplicate this and think it needs to take 6 months? I think it's because the part that I fail to communicate sometimes is I'm not trying to do everything 100%. I just want to get the 3 things done 80% to get an answer. Let's get this product out there and see what happens. We don't need the world's greatest sales page, the world's greatest website. There's a lot of times where rather than taking the time to create like a super fancy website or web page for something, I'm just like, let's just do the bare bones because 80% of this is going to be the offer. Having a nice design is maybe going to add 20% in performance, but 80% is just going to see if people want the offer at all. So find that critical path. What are the 2 to 3 things that matter the most to give this a try? Say if it's a new product test, a marketing test, any of those kind of things. Like with Facebook ads, for example, if you want to test a Facebook ad, make sure you have a halfway decent landing page, a halfway decent ad, put it out there and see what happens. You can always iterate and improve performance, but you don't have to have world's greatest creative and do a custom photo shoot or video shoot. A lot of that stuff is not going to matter. So just put it out there and give it a try. Find the few critical things that really matter so you can simplify your execution. Then tip number 2 is to shorten deadlines. So find the few things that matter and then force yourself to shorten deadlines. There's a quote from Peter Thiel, one of the early investors in Facebook and founders of PayPal, who basically has some quote, general ideas like, figure out what you want to accomplish in the next 10 years, and then ask yourself why you can't do it in 6 months. And so there's something to shortening deadlines. I think it keeps you more focused, because if you have 10 years to do something, I think it's Parkinson's law, but if you have 10 years to do something, you're like, I'll get to it in 9 years. Versus if you're like, I've got 4 days to do this thing, then you can't do anything else for those 4 days. And then if you keep operating like that, like, okay, I've got 4 days to do this next thing, then eventually what you do is you stack up a whole lot of days that are incredibly productive and focused. And so shortening deadlines focuses you. It helps you build momentum because you get bigger and earlier wins that then motivates you, it motivates your team. You see results happening, allows you to double down on the things that are working, get rid of the stuff that's not working. So there's so much power in here in moving faster. So I believe you should try to adopt this principle. Don't break what matters most, people's trust, relationships, customer experience, those kind of things that you maybe can't get back from, but almost everything else can be broken and repaired. I mean, Jeff Bezos calls this two-way doors and one-way doors. So if something is a two-way door, meaning you can reverse out of that decision if it doesn't work, then that should be made incredibly fast. If it's a one-way door, such as like, do I sell my business or something like that, then that's something that once you go down that road, you can't really back out of. Those decisions should be made with a lot of data, a lot more clarity, good thinking, time to reflect. But if it's something that you can literally just change your decision if it doesn't work out, like we just did this, for example, we raised our shipping price by $2. I kept telling our team, this is not gonna matter, it's just gonna be more profit, it's gonna be all good. And I'm like, look, if it doesn't work out, we can just literally go back in the store in 2 minutes and change it back to the old shipping price. It's not gonna matter. That's the kind of decision you should make like that. And so think about that, and that'll help you move faster and more confidently with very little risk. And so move faster in business. I believe if you move 10 times as fast, you'll accomplish 100 times as much. So take this lesson to heart, give it a try in your business and see what happens. And if you want all these episodes for free, please subscribe to my podcast on your favorite podcasting platform or to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.